And happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to Fight Club.
Welcome to Fight Club.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Fight Club for Business, the show for home service business owners looking to improve their marketing, finances, system, and culture. We're a team of self-employed industry experts, and we get to be joined this week by Diana Henley. We're super excited to have you with us. Welcome to the show, Diana. Please give our listeners a brief introduction of yourself and your business.
Okay, so I am the founder and owner of Naturalcare cleaning service for almost 14 years now, and also 4 years ago started Naturalcare Pest Control. I work with family business, so I work with my husband. My husband and I have worked. This is 4 businesses we've worked together in. So for most of our marriage, we've worked together in different companies, and our daughter is our operations manager. She does an amazing job, and just lots of steady growth. Thank goodness. So
awesome. Well, we're super excited to have you. Thank you for joining us, Diana. My name is Taylor Maroney. I co-own a pressure cleaning company in South Florida with my husband. My background is in marketing and graphic design work and things of that sort. So I love making things colorful, fun, but also helping business owners understand the numbers behind the marketing and how to make better decisions based upon that. So I'm super excited to talk to you today about marketing, and welcome to Fight Club.
Great.
Good morning, and my name is Megan Likes. I'm the founder of Bookkeeping Academy Online. I educate and empower small business owners to know their numbers so that they can live more financially rewarding lives. I also own a full-service accounting firm called Likes Accounting Company, and I co-own a window cleaning, gutter cleaning company with my husband, Jeff, in Northern California, and I'm really happy to be back on this Tuesday. And Diana, it's always so good to see you. Welcome to Fight Club.
Hey, Diana, I'm Michelle, co-owner of Pink Collars, and we put remote staff in your service business, whether you need a CSR, office manager, or anybody to help you manage all of that communication that comes at you. That's our business. And I also work with my husband, although he's not here because he has a new job, but I'll tell everybody about that later. I am thrilled to talk to you today and have heard all kinds of cool things about you and your business and your awesome husband. So welcome to Fight Club.
And lastly, my name's Martha Woodward. Diana and I go way back. We met at an ARCSI event, I believe, which is the Association of Residential Cleaning Services International. But anyway, good friends. And I'm excited to have you on. For people that don't know me, I owned a maid service for 13, 14 years. And I co-founded Quality Driven Software. And now I'm all about helping people build happier workplaces. So thank you so much for joining us, Diana. It's going to be fun.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to switch it up a little bit today. I'm going to steal a little bit of Martha's thunder with building happier workplaces, but we're going to talk about the marketing behind building those happier workplaces, because this is something I feel is still a problem. I just got off a meeting this morning where some friends of ours were talking about this. Hiring is still a little bit of an issue for a lot of people out there in the service industry. And you kind of run that whole side of the business, Diana. So I'd love to hear kind of some of your techniques that you're using right now to market to new employees.
Well, honestly, part of my marketing I took from Martha. So there's that. Honestly, I try to keep it very upbeat with our marketing, and I also switch it up. I'll switch it up, try different things, like on the job ads, I'll try different titles. I also go and look at job ads, not necessarily of my competitors, although I do check those out because I want to make sure that we're staying competitive. I go to my friends who own cleaning services. I've gone through and checked all of their ads and asked them what's working. Even the titles, like Indeed can kind of get a little persnickety about the titles sometimes. But I try to sneak little different things in here just to catch the attention. And then right off the bat, when somebody goes and they look at our ad, we switch over to video. So then if they're interesting to me, we switch right over to video and we start marketing to them via video. Everything's pretty automated, so they, as soon as they show some interest and they look interesting to me, then they start getting my text messages and emails. And I treat them as if they, I'm looking for clients.
That's wonderful. So it sounds like you have a really great automated system there, which Michelle is probably drooling over right now.
Yes.
I'd love to. So we talked a lot about some ways you've changed up titles and ways you're kind of adjusting the verbiage of your advertisements for internal employees to be able to draw them in. So what's something that you've seen? Because I think this is a really key point. Because when we market to clients, there's a specific way we draw them in. We want to talk about how we're going to help them and how we're going to solve their problem. So how are we, or I should say you, really helping to solve the problem of employment for these internal, customers of ours?
Well, I would say we have become very flexible the last couple of years. And so our ads reflect that. They pick their schedules and their days. We pay, top dollar in our area. So that's, of course, super helpful. And, that's one thing. My goal is really to be one of the highest paying cleaning services in my area. And so, we talk about that and we talk about ways to continue to increase, that part of our business. I would say, part of the automation was a little bit scary because I lost, that mass amount of applicants that I would get. But I have a really good show rate. So I think it's just kind of narrowed it down a bit nicer.
And that helps tremendously because then you're not having your time or your hiring manager's time wasted, right? We're getting the high quality individuals into the office who then will be able to successfully go through that next part of the interview process outside of the automation. So that's huge.
Yes.
So it sounds like you're using Indeed. Are you using Facebook or are you using like college job boards? What are some of the places that you're actually placing these advertisements for your internal customers?
I kind of stopped going out into the community and using that type of recruiting. I never really had great luck. And so I pretty much will stick with Indeed or Facebook. I've tried some other, different systems, and I will probably go back to other ones because we've stopped using kind of that internal process of Indeed, and we have our own. So they go outside of Indeed these days, and that's a lot easier for me to use different, online platforms.
Absolutely, that does make it a lot simpler. So it's. I've heard a bunch of things over the last year that people have tried, and it's always interesting to see where each individual business lies because it is different for every area. Marketing to those internal customers is completely different than marketing to your actual customers, but similar in the same way. And I've heard people, discuss emailing their current client list and asking them if they know of anyone that would be a great fit for their company. And I think that one's a really creative way that you're getting your clients who trust you to want to send someone to your business who they trust. And then that potentially can add to the funnel as well. So there's been a lot of creative ways through all of this COVID that have come out for hiring your internal customers. And now, as far as your show rate's really great, which is fantastic. I love hearing that because I know that's an issue a lot of people have as well. Do you, when it comes to the actual, let's talk about the job requirements on the ad, because I think that's something that a lot of people put a lot of weight on. I know I've kind of used Martha's and Megan's kind of techniques for our job ad as well. So I'd love to hear how you kind of get in the requirements for the job without having that be too much of a restriction on your advertisement, because that's something a lot of people can put a lot of weight on. And unfortunately, it might actually turn away potential internal customers than bring them into the business.
Well, that's at the bottom of the app. first. First I want to tell them all the fabulous things that we're going to do for them, and how great we are to work for, and we're friendly and flexible and all those things. So that's at the bottom of the ad. And honestly, I don't put a lot in there. It's just kind of basic stuff that, driver's license, and I have like a small list. And I don't really focus on that. Usually when I'm looking at their job history, I can get a feel for whether they would be a good fit or not.
Absolutely. So that's wonderful. And if anyone's listening today, that's a huge, golden nugget that I think we've all learned from Martha, as well as other individuals that we've worked with in the industry. It's very important to sell the company and sell how happy, as Martha would say, that they would be working within the company. And that is a really key point of answering their why. So you're still answering a why for these clients or these internal clients, when you're marketing to them. And you're answering that through the happiness that they will be able to have at your establishment. So think of that when you're working on your marketing for your internal customers. It's really important to make sure you're answering those questions and really saving, kind of like Diana said, the nitty gritty of the requirements till the end and keeping it at a minimum. So that way we're not fully, frightening them away. We want them to read through that ad, be very happy, have that warm, fuzzy feeling inside, and just know how much of a wonderful company you are to work with. So I appreciate you kind of going through everything, Diana. It's definitely a time where we need to talk about these things more and really help our fellow business owners understand how to properly market to their internal customers. So I thank you, and thank you, Martha, for letting me steal a little bit of your people side of things today. But I will hand you off to Megan, Diana, so you guys can talk about finances.
Great.
Do we have to? I don't know. I feel like I have.
Ready. Let's do it.
Okay. Well, I have like 4 options for us to choose from today. And you get to choose your own ending here, your own destiny. Okay. So the first one is, I find it very fascinating, and I get asked a lot about running 2 different businesses.
Okay.
Like, how do we keep that organized? How do you manage like staff and overhead and bookkeeping and cash? And like, it's a big juggle for one business. When you add a second business, I get asked that a lot. So we could go into what's worked for you, what hasn't worked for you, what you guys have figured out over the past several years. We could talk about doing your own bookkeeping, because I know both you and Chad are very good bookkeepers, and I am very proud of you guys for that. We could continue this recruiting discussion and talk about the value of good staff. So I think that you have some staff that have been with you a long time. Yeah. I think you have some staff that are very helpful in like recruiting more staff. So we could talk about like the monetary value of having A players on our team, and then probably more importantly, keeping them. Or we could talk about leveraging friendships and relationships to build a better business, because I feel like this is something you're very, very good at. And it's you're a community builder, Diana, and you have a lot of friends in your industry and outside of your industry, and you're always willing to help. But more importantly, you're always looking to like kick ideas around and collaborate. And I love that about you guys. I mean, there's lots of things I love about you, but I love that you're sharers, like you're givers, and you understand that like we're always learning, like we're always iterating and improving. And so, yeah, so usually there's only 2 options or 3 options. That's 4 options, because you're so diverse. And every guest always says like, let's hit them all. And I'd much rather just like start with the one that makes your heart sing, and then if we have time, we can go into others.
Okay, so let's do 3, because I feel like the longevity of our admin and our managers has really helped us rock and roll the last couple of years. Financially, yes.
Okay, good. So let's talk about that. Like, how many like of your key staff have been with you over a year?
Well, everybody in the office has been, all of the managers have been with me fairly long term. One person, I think she's been there 2 years, another person 3 or 4, but then of course Candice has been there for 13 years and Cynthia 12 years. Yeah.
There's a helicopter. Sorry. That's amazing. So all of them longer than 2 years. And The four of us just did this Rockstar admin training. So we've been talking a lot about the value of strong admins in the office.
Oh,
So
yeah.
talk to us a little bit about how that dream team has shaped Naturalcare and kind of shaped your role in the company now.
So that's interesting. I actually just hired another person to come into our company, sales and client onboarding type position, and it was interesting interviewing because I needed that person to fit our existing culture and personality of the company. And I was also reading this morning some feedback that I'm getting from my admins as they prepare for their reviews. And one thing that the person that's been with me for 3 years said, one of the questions was like, is there anybody that kind of gets in the way of your efficiency? Is there anybody that's holding that back? And she said, no, because they all talk so well together. So what really works is I'm a talker. I'm a high communicator. So Candice is a high communicator, and that's expected. And so it just kind of goes through. So they work really well together in a sense of if there's any issues or concerns, they can talk it out and figure out the best path. They're all pretty open. We talk, you'll be glad to hear this. Every Wednesday, we talk every single number. We have a numbers meeting every Wednesday, and we get into the nitty gritty of it.
Okay, tell us more about that, because I feel like even at the Rockstar admin training, so my role was to talk about money, and I noticed there were a lot of admins that had maybe some insecurity around talking about numbers or finances, but maybe more strongly, there were a lot of owners that didn't want to be transparent about numbers with their staff. And so how did you overcome that hurdle of talking about every single dollar with your staff once a week? Like, what was the shift? What was the pivot?
For us, I don't think I was ever afraid to talk to them about it. It was more just developing the discipline of making sure that we did this every single week. And it's made a huge difference. For instance, my scheduler office manager, she has to report efficiency. How efficient are our teams? Are they 85% efficient? That means their drive time, their unbillable time. Are they efficient? And if they weren't efficient, her first thought was, well, I had a lot of call outs that week. So I had a harder time with the efficiency of the schedule. So I had them add a column to her report, and that is how many call outs did she have? Because she consistently has the same call outs week over week over week over week. And sometimes that was a high efficiency, sometimes it was a low efficiency, but the call outs wasn't making the difference.
Okay, we have to stop here.
See that.
We have to stop here because this is amazing. And I think actually this is exactly where we're going to spend our time, is we're going to talk about the KPIs that each person in your office has to report. Because this idea of self-reporting is huge. This idea of like being transparent and letting them see how this week really wasn't that different than last week, even though it felt really different. And so having to explain that. So labor efficiency is something that I am starting to obsess about this year, because I feel like there's so much hidden money in labor efficiency, right? Like if we're fully staffed and our calendar is full, the way you can squeeze the cottage cheese and like optimize your bottom line is in labor efficiency. So for those listeners that don't know what labor efficiency is, can you talk, like you just said 85% like that off the cuff. Let's talk a little bit about what you mean. So your scheduler, their job is
to fill the schedule, to make sure that every available job hour is filled. And so so she has two jobs. One is productivity and the other one is efficiency. For us, productivity is in the home. How productive are our teams? Everybody's productivity goal is 100%. We have some that are at 115, 120, and some that are at 90. And obviously those 90s, we start trying to push them up. And then our efficiency is that unbillable drive time. Are we making best use? Are we not sending, Houston's huge. You don't want to send somebody from this side to that side ever. And if we do have to send them, we need to speak about it. Like, why did this happen? So that's really what our goal is so everybody has their numbers. And if their numbers are off, they have to dig into why is my number off? It can't be, well, I had a lot of absences. Right. How many absences did you have?
Right. Did you have an off day? Was it a new client and it was misbid? Were you Did you take a longer break or a longer lunch? Like so for us in the window cleaning world, there's 8 hours in a normal work day. It's kind of loosey-goosey, like 8-ish.
Yeah.
And we expect 6 of those to be productive billing hours. But those 6 productive billing hours, we expect to be at a very high labor rate because our scheduler has booked out our calendar at certain dollars per hour. And what I find is most home service businesses never go back and look like, well, did we actually hit the dollar per hour that we thought we were going to hit? And like, why are we having this overtime? Or why is payroll higher this week? So for you have a small advantage because you're in recurring revenue. So your jobs each week should look kind of similar.
Right.
So there should be trends. So what does that spreadsheet look like for your scheduler? You said you added a column, but what are they reporting? Like, is it a percentage or is it a dollar amount? Is it per day? Is it per week? Like, how does that look?
Week. So we do this week to week. And so for Cynthia, she's telling us what's our client count, how many losses, how many gains, and efficiency. And what else does she report?
Wait, is somebody noting that? Because that's amazing gold. I'm usually the note taker. Okay, so client count, gains, losses.
And then she's in charge of the scheduling, so it's efficiency. So I'm going to tell you a mistake that we made that I've been kind of saying, why don't we have this number? Why don't we have this number? Why don't we have this number? And Chad went to a workshop last week and said, our number's off. I'm like, that's the joy of working with your husband. I've been saying that number's off. And so our teams check in every day and they post, hey, I'm in this zone. I'm getting off at this time. And so I've noticed that they're getting off earlier. And so I kept asking, how many available hours do we have to work and how many are we working? And why isn't that in this column? Oh, well, we have this number or we have that number. No. But what I'm asking is, how many available hours do we have that we're not working, that we could be working? And so my husband came home from a workshop and he goes, hey, so-and-so has this size, company that's bigger than ours and has fewer employees. What's up with that? Okay, can we add that number down to the, and so he started talking to our scheduler saying, okay, so it looks like,
It looks like we have some hidden, and that happens to us sometimes when I'm like, okay, but when everybody's getting off at 2:30, like, what am I supposed to do with that extra hour and a half of the day that I had budgeted for, like when we set our weekly budget,
yes.
Okay, that's so helpful. So Colin is drinking our Kool-Aid right now and he wants to talk more KPIs. So you said you just brought in a salesperson.
Right.
Can you walk through what they're reporting at their weekly meeting?
Well, I'm not sure yet because she's not there, but she's going to take some stuff from other people. So from Cynthia, I'm sure she'll do gains and losses. So let me think. Let me walk through. Candice does the big enchilada. So she's in charge of the productivity. And so that means if there's any team members that aren't being as productive as they could be, she reaches out to them and she's the one that fixes that issue. Let me think.
Meaning like labor rate? Like, did you
yes.
or do you do like their budget? Like, did you get it done on time? Is that what you mean by productivity?
Yes. Did they get it done on time? And if they're not getting it done on time, so she's in charge of payroll. So we pay percentage pay plus bonuses. So that's a long conversation. And we have that conversation before they start our company 3 different times in 3 different ways. So we want to make sure that they're really internalizing it. So she's in charge of that. Are they being productive? Do they understand it? Are they, what else does she do? Gosh, I wish I could have just pulled this up because it's a long list. I'm not even kidding you. I feel like I'm going to have to give you the list.
No, that's so helpful. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to, and does she do much with hiring? So like, does she track applicant?
I'm hiring. So I report the hiring. So my report is how many people applied, how many people did I invite for an interview, how many people showed up for that interview, how many people did I offer the job to, and how many took it. Basically, I need to manage how many hours I'm putting in. It's pretty automated, so it's a nice system. I have a good show rate, but I also do all of my interviewing through Zoom or FaceTime. So it's so irritating when somebody doesn't show up. But I I have a list of tasks that I do specifically for that time. So I take my eyes off of the Zoom that they didn't show up and do this other task. So I'm not sitting there irritated.
Oh my gosh. Michelle is going to definitely talk to you about that. I love this grab and
I'm
go
freaking
list
out.
because
I
that
love
happens to me all the time where I'm like, the client didn't show. And usually I'm like doing a dance party, like, yes, I get free time off
Yeah.
Zoom. But then I should also not like go get a cup of coffee and go for a walk and like, water the plant. Like I should be more productive during that time. Cause then at 4:00, I'm like, I've done nothing today. It's like, well, okay, you did not. Yeah. Okay. Salesperson. I'm going to just circle back because I copied and pasted that when you started talking. I think they're probably going to take leads, gains, losses, total sales, conversion rate. Anything else we're missing there?
So I'm trying to think of what Chad is sales and marketing for. So right now he is like, how many people came to the website? How many people signed up for recurring for one time? He always has to list what we've got going on, whether it's Facebook ads. Did he send out an email campaign? He has to take care of. He has to report that.
Yes, I love it.
Yes,
I love it. So that's like client acquisition costs. Cool. That was so good. Okay, and then I'm assuming, I'm going to end on this note. I'm assuming your office was not always this dream team. I'm going to assume that this is like kind of a team that you've built over the years. For somebody who's sitting out there being like, I have so many friends who don't respect or like their office managers. And I'm like, why are you working with them then? Like life's too short. Yeah. What do you do to help like shift their mindset about that? Like, I know that it's the key position in my company. Right. All of those positions are. I know that like nothing is really possible without that support. How would you help a listener shift their mindset about like valuing their office?
I mean, they make my life possible. Right. I don't know. We do have a rule at Naturalcare, and that is if everybody's not comfortable talking to this person, then that person can't be there. So like I do every now and then have somebody that's a little prickly or something, right? So they're not as open to conversation. And we actually will have that conversation. I'm having a hard time communicating with you. You're very closed off and you have a look on your face. If I can't talk to you, you can't be here. We have to be able to really fully communicate all the nitty gritty. So I think that's very helpful. If I would pick one thing, it's that they all communicate very well. Right.
I love that. I love that. If I can't communicate with you, you can't be here. And that's not on you. That's not on me. Like our last office manager that we lost about 6 months ago, that was essentially what it came down to was like, we need to be able to openly communicate and be on the same page. I love that you have those awkward conversations early. I think on that note, I'm going to pass you to Michelle, and she's going to talk to you about systems. I'm sure you got her brain going with several of the things you said.
I love this automation talk about hiring. And I feel like I might be in Martha's world a little bit, but I think that systematizing hiring is something that people really struggle with, right? They get an Indeed ad going and they throw a bunch of money at it and they fire it away. And then they're like, okay, now what? So can you break it down into the simple steps, like the different columns in which they proceed through that applicant process? Because that is a fully built out system, right, in your company. Right. And a lot of people just need those high points, like those little touch points so that they can say, okay, I can build that with this product or service or this VA or this software. They can kind of plug and play as they want. But if you just hit those highlights, I think that would be super helpful. So applicant comes in Indeed and go.
So an applicant comes into Indeed, they see my ad and they go to my website and they fill out an application on my website. That automatically puts them into Keep. Used to be Infusionsoft. And so once they're in that system, and basically I'm sending them, I do most of my communication through text messaging. That seems to be right. Like I don't like email. I'm going to respond to that text message. So immediately I say, hey, I loved your application. Can you watch this video? If you like, and then so they watch a video and it's really thoroughly explaining my payroll system. It's percentage pay. I show a payroll report. Here is
Really?
a report. Here is what everybody in the company made that week. Here's their bonuses. Oh, look, can you see this person didn't get any tips or bonuses? So we go through that in the video. And then at the end of it, if you like it, if you live within, this much, miles from us, go to my calendar and set up an interview slot with me.
Okay.
And so they can choose Zoom or FaceTime. Now, I have found that most people, if I go in and look, and I haven't looked in a couple of months, but last couple of times I looked, they're really coming in on that second touch point. So
really?
Yes, weird.
Okay, cool.
Right. So then I send them another one. Hey, did you watch that video? What'd you think? Any questions? And then another day, are you still job searching? We're still looking. And, so we have, I want to say like 4, and then they're off, they're
really
off the grid for now. We may, Chad is constantly wanting to add emails.
Sure.
He's an email guy. I'm not so much. So we may continue to do like, once a month check-ins with them until they just tell us to go away. But I think that automations and all of that, we typically stay overstaffed. And I will tell you that there's a couple of things that I think keep us overstaffed. One is automations of the system.
Mm-hmm.
And 2, I'm dedicated to it.
Yeah.
So I spend... I was out of town last week. That's rare. There's never a time that we're not doing what we're doing every single week.
Yeah.
There's no back down of that. And I'm the one, I spend 20 hours a week working on that.
And that's really important for the listeners to hear, right? It's that constant nurturing. It's like gardening, right? You got to be in the garden. You got to make sure these things are growing. And the minute somebody is either out of that role in your business or you're out of that role in your business, you can see the dip. Mm-hmm. And it's so true when you create a system that is regimented like that. Mm-hmm. Once you pull back out of it, you can feel the pain. So I love that.
That's why I've kept it, because I've been adjusting and readjusting and adjusting and readjusting. Sure. And I have a job form that I fill out with every single interview, same questions across the board. And then when I have issues, I go back. Like if somebody doesn't work out, I go back and look at their interview and look at how they answer the questions, so I can make sure that I'm not hiring that person. Right.
I love that.
Sometimes I'm so enthusiastic because they're so nice.
Of course. Yeah.
Personalities that I miss those little, maybe not a red flag, but maybe an orange flag.
Yeah.
I've been paying attention to.
Oh,
so when I lose them for behavioral type issues, I go back every time.
So the Jot form, then where does the Jot form go? Because a lot of us use Jot form. It's a free service for most users. So you don't have to, invest anything big. Where does that Jot form data land in your company?
I just keep it. I just keep it.
Hold on to it.
I just hang on to it. And then I send a copy of it over to Candice when I've approved somebody for hiring. I send her a copy of the interview. And I just keep it in the little inbox. And if I start having attendance issues, I go back and look to see what they said about attendance, or if I have somebody go, oh, but I didn't know that we had to drive our car every day or something. I go back and go, oh no, but we discussed it. Yeah. Or last week, I actually had somebody they come to my house on week 4.
Sure.
So I can make sure everybody did their job before week 4. And she wouldn't come in the house because of my dog.
Oh, okay.
Martha's met my sweet Sophie. She's a German Shepherd. She's 10 years old. And so I was 30 minutes away. I came home. And I said, I'm going to hide over here and remotely unlock the door. And you show me what she was doing so I can see what was it that was startling you and making you not go in the home.
Sure.
And so she was doing nothing. She was just looking, wagging her tail, doing old lady dog things. So we went back and I sat her down and I said, oh, so look, we talked about this here. You responded here. Mm-hmm. There's 2 different places that prior to hiring you, we discussed animals.
Wow. That is great. So what ended up happening with that team member? Did they push through that frightening thing that they claimed was scary, or what happened?
Well, we just had the chat. This is what you told me, and this is what cannot happen. I mean, thankfully it was me. But when I'm downtown and have to rush home because somebody can't get in the house, that can't happen. And right. So she's not cleaning right now. Let's just
say that. Wow. But how wonderful to have that accountability piece, not to hold anybody hostage, but to just say, hey, we kind of talked about this. It's just beautiful transparency. And that system is just fantastic. So do you use, other than Keep, do you use any other applicant tracking like software where you can hold all this data or information? Or is it just notes? How does that look in your company?
It's really, for us, it's all in Keep. I think that's our primary use of Keep these days is our recruiting stuff. Obviously it's in job form. All the data's in job form.
Sure.
Everything I can do from here, which is great. So then if I like them, then I send over, the DocuSign stuff, and they fill all that out. And that's
great.
The job form and all of that, I made it for me. I made it because I can't keep up.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it ended up just being a perfect answer to the recruiting puzzle.
I'm obsessed with all of that.
I love it. I'm going to set Jeff up on a job form right now for his phone interview questions and his in-person interview. It's so brilliant, Diana.
It's so true.
Use it internally. I don't know. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Now, we record all of our Zoom, but we don't have that data piece. And so we'll often go back and look at the recordings, but being able to hit those highlight questions in like a jot form, a spreadsheet, something that's just a quick glance, it's brilliant. I'm implementing it too. Okay, so let's work on it together. You and I.
One thing I learned with my interview questions is I can't ask them, what would you do in this situation? They have to tell me about a situation they did it in. So even with the absences, I noticed when I asked them, how many days do you think is reasonable to call out last minute in a 6-month period? They're going to give me an answer, but then I have to follow that up with, well, does what you've just told me match up with your last few jobs? Is that, did you stay within that reasonable time? Or, oh gosh, my favorite question, because they have to use their own cars. It's so simple and it's so little. Have you at any time with any car that you've ever owned gone out to go to work at any job you've ever had and the car not start? And then they tell me, and then I say, what did you do in that situation? So I want to know that they did something besides call out, right? We actually have one cars, so it's available. But if I said, what would you do if your car broke down? They're going to give me one answer as opposed to what did you do when it happened?
Oh, I love that. Oh, it's beautiful. Okay.
Yeah, and a perfect up. Oh, but you told me that you had a second car. What happened to that second car?
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah. I love that. Just one notch deeper just seems to be solving a ton of problems. So love it. Love it. Okay. I'm going to pass you on to Martha. Thank you so much, Diana. This is great.
All right. So I want to talk to you about communication, because I think that is something that's really hard for people. I don't think it's very hard for us, but it's very hard for some people. But before we do that, you mentioned in your hiring system that the second touch is where you really get people. Now, is that second touch, was that the video of you explaining the?
That is, hey, did you watch the video? I've already sent the video to them, and now I'm asking them, did you watch it? Did you have any questions? I reiterate what our pay structure is, what our average hourly pay is, that sort of thing. I've already sent them the video. That's my first touch.
Okay. So the reason I asked is because I was thinking that through, that that video, yes, you're solving your need that people need to understand percentage pay, and it's always a battle, and you're getting it started early. And you and I are big believers in people being fully informed, because if they discover something they don't like later, I mean, that sucks for all of us. So
Yeah.
anyway, but that video, what I think is very brilliant about you describing payroll on that video is that they, yes, get a sense for what payroll is and how much they can make. And, you know, and you're planting that seed of you're really empowered on what you make. But I think even more importantly is, and they're not thinking this, but it does, they do internalize, you're very transparent and they can trust you. So when you come and you talk, you know, you're showing them payroll, they, you know, they get a sense for, oh my gosh, I'm going to be able to talk to this person. And they do get a sense for that you're a good communicator and that there's a give and take kind of a situation. So I love it. I love everything about that. Okay. So let's talk about communication.
Okay.
And let's talk about, think back to your early days and think back to when, and you may have always been really good at communicating. Think back to the early days when people were kind of surprised when they got let go. And then I want you to compare and contrast to what you used to do and what you do now.
Well, so this might be, I don't know if a lot of people do this, and I don't know if it's the best way to do it, but it's worked for me. So I'll preface it by that. Every conversation that we have, we write it up. And I tell them, we're going to have this conversation because there's an issue, but that doesn't mean it's not so much as a write-up as we're logging it, right? So exactly. I would never want somebody to be surprised if I needed to terminate them. And I don't really like having hard discussions. I'll do it, but I don't love it. I don't even love to tell them that they missed things when they cleaned, but I'll do it. So I try to give all the information up front. So I don't have to have the hard conversation, or the hard conversation is not unexpected, I guess. Like the payroll, for instance, the payroll. We have that. I send the video. During the interview process, I say, hey, what'd you think of that video? Can you tell me how we pay? I want them to tell me now, what did you hear?
Yeah.
Right. And then when they start the company, the little graphics that I have that explain it during their onboarding process, they sit side by side with the person that does the onboarding, which is Candice, and she explains it again. And then when they get their first paycheck, they come into her office and she explains it yet again. Now, I did have somebody a couple of months ago confused. One piece that we need to improve on is our trainer pay. Right? She's a trainer. She didn't understand the pay. It wasn't as thoroughly discussed as just the regular pay. She prefaced it by saying, I don't mean to cause trouble. I'm so sorry. I don't understand. And so I just stopped the conversation and said, this is your money. Please. And then in our company meeting, I said this, and I didn't point her out. I said, somebody had a question about the payroll. And I expressed to her, this is your money. Any question you have, ask it, right? So I want them to be open, but that's why we give them so much information over and over. So the mistake that I made before was giving them the information once.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe twice if I was feeling generous with my time or something. I don't know. Now we know. You just keep talking about the issues. Uh-oh, you know what? You've been absent 5 times. Uh-oh, so we just keep talking about it. When they start having issues like that, we stop the conversation, and it's not like you're calling in too much, you suck. It is, hey, you know what? You've been calling in quite a bit, and it seems like 5 days a week might be too much for you. Why don't you drop down to 4 days a week? Or you're kind of having a hard time getting to the clients' homes at 8. You want to start you want to have a start time of 9 o'clock, because I just want you to stick with your integrity. Just be where you say you're going to be when you say you're going to be there. I don't care if it's 8 or 9, and I truly don't care whether it's 8.
Right. Right.
This
Yeah.
is amazing.
Yeah,
My brain is like blowing.
I know.
Yeah.
Me too. It's awesome.
it is.
It's just the last couple of years that I could get my office staff on board with all the flexibility. And so 100 years ago, I cleaned houses, and I would drop the kids off at school, clean 2 houses, pick the kids up. And that was, so why should everybody else not have that same opportunity to still raise their children in that manner? Or this is kind of funny, but like somebody's employee might have their dog sick. Well, if my dog was sick, I'm not going to work. So I need to hold them to the same standards that I will hold myself. If my Sophie was laying in the living room not feeling good, I'm sorry, I have to take care of Sophie first. Right. So yeah.
I love that. And I think you're so good about identifying a problem and then backtracking how, like, I'm sure there was a point where you were like, why is everybody quitting over their money? Like that they're not making enough money, or they're not understanding how, because that is so common. I mean, it's so common across all these industries where people quit because they're not making enough money. However, they could have made more money had they done this. And so, yeah, I love that. I love that conversation. And you've always been one of those people that I joke. I always say, if somebody looks at me wrong, we're going to have a conversation, like in the office, if you can just tell. And, and so like, if I had employees that I said something and they kind of rolled their eyes, or like, then we're having a conversation, and it's not because they're in trouble. Right. It's because something is going on. And like you said, it's, conversations are yucky when it is kind of a power play and you're having to lay down the law. Conversations are not bad when it's like fact finding and you're trying to figure out what's going on. And I'm sure it's exactly like me. A lot of times there was something that I was doing or management was doing, and we had no idea. And we'd be like, oh, that makes perfect sense, but nobody was telling you. So I'm sure you would agree that if somebody's having trouble with communication, think of it as, you're honestly doing them a favor, and you're just fact finding. It's not, it doesn't have to be confrontational. And I think that's what people associate conversation with confrontation.
You know what? I think in the interview process, at the end of it, I say, I'm a high communicator. And so these are the next 3 steps that we're going to go through. Throughout any of these 3 steps, if I have any concerns or questions, I'm going to be very open to you about those questions and concerns. Can you do the same for me? So if you decide, you go home and you go, you know what, never mind, I don't think I want that job. Can you just send me a note? If you decide you don't want to show up, can you just send us a little text and let us know? If you're worried about something, here are the 5 people that you can talk to about that question, right? So I ask them to communicate with me the way I'm communicating with them. And I want you to know, the terrible no call, no shows. Candice told me that we haven't had one in about 18 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because and I don't care. Somebody quit yesterday when I was there. Somebody came in to drop her gear off, and I was kind of eavesdropping, and I heard the drive's just much further than I thought. I'm getting stuck in traffic and And I heard Candice tell her, no problem, man. I get it. You want to get home way before then, but you know what? If you move closer, let us know. So it wasn't even like, again, you suck.
Right. Right.
Like, okay.
And employees are so used to working for somebody where, like, kind of like they're always in trouble, you know? And we did something, I did something very similar. And I would tell them, listen, I'd say the exact same thing. Listen, if you decide that this job is not for you,
Right.
absolutely understand, because some people love it and some people are like, oh, I thought I'd like it and I don't like it. And I would say there's absolutely no hard feelings.
Right.
When I'll be upset with you is when you just ghost us and you don't, because we just want to know. We want to know you're okay. We want to know, blah, 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 blah. And that helped a lot when you're basically giving them permission to let you know, and you've said no hard feelings.
Right.
We absolutely get it. And I even tell them, because if you stick it out just to stick it out, you're not going to be happy and it will show up in your job. And so anyway, okay, we could go on, but I know I'm going to get the hook. And so I'm going to pass it back to Tay, and we give homework about this time. So Tay, I'll let you explain that to Diana and we'll get started.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you first, Diana, for sharing a wealth of knowledge. And we really stuck on Martha's topic today, just in our own lanes individually. So it was a really fun time. And I really think this is going to help a lot of people out there. So we appreciate you taking the time with us. As far as homework goes, we assign homework for accountability. So we want our listeners to be able to put into action what they have listened to today. And this is going to be a lot of homework. We talked a lot about hiring today and the right employees and how to track KPIs and the systems involved in this and communication. So each piece of this homework is going to somewhat be connected in a way. I think this might be the full first time we're all connected on similar homework. So it's kind of a first for Fight Club, but we still only ask you to choose one. So please choose the one area of this topic that really is struggling in your business and you need to get implemented this week. So if you want to do bonuses, you want to do extra, that's fantastic. We encourage it. And we have an accountability group for that on Facebook that you can be able to join and get access to all of us to help you with this. So Diana, we're going to save you for last, so that way you can kind of see the pieces of homework that come out from this. As far as marketing goes, it's going to be pretty simple. I just want you to take your recruitment ad and evaluate if you're actually selling your business to your potential internal customers, or if you're just putting requirements on there. So that way you can really see that the answering of that why, right? So making sure that you're answering the internal customers, why, for why they want to move from their job and join a new business to work for. And then from there, you can still have the requirements in there, as Diana said, just keep them minimal at the bottom and really only the key ones that are essential for your business.
Love it. Love it. For your finance homework, I'm going to have you just take a minute. And I think this is similar to Michelle's homework from a couple weeks ago, where she had us do the org chart. I want you to think about your office staff members and what they're accountable for. Like, what's their role? And if you have one office staff member, then you need to think about, okay, are they in charge of sales? Are they in charge of dispatching and scheduling? Are they in charge of interviews? And maybe their accountabilities are going to be a little bit longer. Or maybe you have a well-rounded office team and each person, like in Diana's company, has their own role where they're accountable. And I'm going to challenge you to come up with 5 numbers that you'd like them to track each week. And Diana said it early. This is the hardest part about it, is actually having that meeting. It's a little awkward the first couple times. Like, it feels weird talking about this data points in our company, but I'm going to challenge you. Choose 5 numbers that you want to use to help celebrate your office admin team and hold them accountable. And then have a weekly meeting and really commit to them, because they'll help hold you accountable that you're going to do this every week. So if you say every Tuesday at 9 a.m. we're going to talk about this, then hopefully you're going to deliver on that promise. Every Tuesday at 10, we're going to talk about this. Okay. Cool. And if 10 o'clock is Fight Club time for your company, don't talk about it Tuesdays at 10. So, okay. Yeah.
I love it. And your systems homework is to implement JotForm, a free, awesome tool that can have many, many uses in your company. But don't kill me, Taylor. Taylor's listening. I'm going to implement it into our hiring practice, because going back and doing the videos is just we're not getting enough of that data. So I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to do my own homework this week. So look at JotForm, and I'll put the link in the group.
I had to think for a minute. Why was Taylor going to be mad at you?
No, my Taylor, not this, Taylor. Our pink collars, Taylor.
Okay, I want you to identify one thing that you have staff quit over, and then I want you to identify what that is. I'm not enough pay, the hours, blah, 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 blah. And then I want you to backtrack and think about, how have you educated them on that practice? And is there anything you need to change? Could you get more flexible? I think flexibility is a huge job benefit that doesn't cost you much, and you get great people from it. But anyway, what's the problem? How do you educate your staff? And if they're quitting because they didn't understand, you obviously have to do a better job of the education, and you need to change anything. So, all right. And Diana.
I hear a lot of, there's always people saying, well, you have more staff because this, but it's not going to work for me. So I would say really examine your commitment to it. Do you interview at the same time every week, no matter what? Do you run a fresh ad at this time every week, no matter what? Do you have a solid questions? And so for me, I guess really the basic question would be, how much time, log your time, how much time are you spending on hiring? Because it seems to be third, fourth, fifth down on the list of things, when for us, if we want growth, it has to be way up top. It has to be our primary, one of our primary focuses is hiring. So how much time are you spending on it? Examine that for real.
Yeah.
Don't use feelings. It feels like I'm doing it all the time. Don't use feelings. Feelings lie.
Right. I love it.
If someone wants to get into contact with you and kind of ask you some more questions and kind of pick your brain maybe a little bit on recruiting and that side of the business, how could they get in contact with you?
They can email me, or they could reach out on Facebook, Diana@naturalccs.com.
Either one text you. I thought you hated emails.
Oh.
But I will get to it on my time.
Right. Good job.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to plug your group, you have a pretty awesome group that you built during COVID.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the intention of that group is, but you can plug that group and our group if you'd like. Diana is building more community around this, and it's really, really cool and inspiring. And I've been able to be a fly on the wall for a couple of these cool random Zoom meetings about Trainual and ATSs and other things. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Tell us what it is.
It is hiring and onboarding group. And it was selfishly for me. I just wanted to know what everybody was doing. I wanted to see everybody's ads. I wanted to see, where they were having success. And so I just said, hey, who wants to talk about this with me? And then I just threw them all in a group, and we chat about it. And new things come up. Yeah.
Hiring and onboarding for service companies. Is that the one?
I believe so.
Oh, yay. Oh, yep, that's it. Diana is an admin. Okay, I'm jumping in. I'm following right along. I'm getting in there. I love it.
Awesome.
Beautiful. Well, typically, Diana, we stop with the quote of the day. And so we usually pick an influencer, somebody that talks about business, something that we see out there in the world that kind of ties into what we talked about. But I absolutely loved your quote. So the quote of the day today is you, and it's going to be, my office team makes my life possible. by Diana Henley. So I think all of those people that are out there in the office making it happen every day need that encouragement. So thank you for sharing that lovely sentiment with us today. And thank you for joining us in the Fight Club. Everybody have an awesome day out there and get your recruiting and hiring stuff all organized like Diana. And have a great day, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us on Fight Club.
Bye. See you next Tuesday.